work, and a lot of the communities that we recognize have made an effort for this to happen. So for us, the first step to be able to engage youth is to be able to have a youth that is educated, engaged, and is not otherwise compromised going to the forest to collect wood, or otherwise compromised going to the rivers to collect water. So my first example of this, of some of the challenges that eventually become solutions, is in Nicaragua, in a place where, of course, climate change has exacerbated food insecurity, but mostly water insecurity. And here this group called Alexander von Humboldt Center has guided the community in the use of local technologies for water management. Of course, they've also provided education, awareness raising on the importance of watersheds. But most importantly, they have allowed women who would normally go take water from the river to be doing other things. They've also promoted eco stoves and solar stoves. Of course, we know this limits the destruction in the forest with the climate change impact, with the health impact. But then this also stops the girls, mainly girls in this particular community, to going to the forest. So this initiative is allowing girls to go back to school because they no longer have to spend all of their time with these other chores. And then my other example of this particular case, in this area where we're promoting education for them to be able to actively engage, is in Bangladesh. And during the annual monsoon season in Bangladesh, some of you might know, a third of the country is submerged in water. So of course, children cannot attend school, and an initiative called Shidulai pioneered a fleet of floating schools. Libraries, health clinics, training centers, equipped with wireless internet access. The boats are fitted with solar panels that power computers, lights, and medical equipment. And they provide education in flood-prone areas, so they literally pick up the kids in the different areas, they stay in school, and then they take them back. And they're also teaching their parents. So in the afternoons, the parents of these students get on the boats and learn about different sustainable land management techniques, making the rivers cleaner and making their land more fertile. So at least from our point of view, the first lesson is in order for youth to be engaged, has to be educated, and it has to be able to participate actively in the implementation of the goals. So of course that's a challenge. So then my other points are more on the solutions. So once you have an active, engaged, educated youth, of course we all know youths are drivers of change. They organize ourselves. I mean, we have a full room of organized youth, and can change the way the communities see sustainable development and the challenges of climate change. They can change their parents, little by little, promote advocacy in the regions where they live. So of course, leadership is key in all of these. So my first example is from a group from Chad. The group is called Talion Volunteers Association for the Protection of the Environment. They focus in environmental education and social development. And what they do is they combat land degradation and desertification, so extreme land erosion in Chad. And the main aspect is they teach youth how to fertilize the soil with locally available organic compost, how to use trees as hedgerows, living fences. Every year they have an online environmental contest featuring information, games, helping youth learn about deforestation, about climate change. A lot of that's been talked about, deforestation, and names of plants and trees. If you're going to reforest, you need to know the names of plants and trees, what they do, the advantages of each. They also created educational celebrations around National Tree Day, World Environment Day, lots of celebratory days, and use of multimedia, film screenings, debates, demonstrations, competitions, and appearances on national TV to educate youth. So this is a group working directly with youth. And the youth learning these sustainable land management practices. They train them in agroforestry, tree planting, as I said, and peer-to-peer environmental learning programs where I teach you, but you have the obligation of teaching another one. So they come in, they're trained, but they have to go out and teach other youth as part of that program. So in French, it's savoir pour sauver, so learning to save or for life. And they also mentor youth to become UN young parliamentarians. So they like to sell themselves as preparing the future leaders of Chad in every single way, those who remain in the rural areas, but those who migrate to urban areas. My second case study is from Niger, the Instrument of Peace School. So they focus on innovative natural resource management strategies. And it's quite interesting. So what they do is where somebody would see hyacinth, water hyacinth as an invasive species, here they take it and they build a local solution. So they create briquettes that are used as fuels, that are used as compost, and they teach the youth to do this. And through this educational process, they engage youth troops in singing, dancing, and storytelling to inform and educate the general population. This is normally carried out in local languages and includes the human rights issues and human rights and women's rights perspective. So here they teach the adults in their communities how to create these bricks, how something that they consider an invasive alien species can be used to reduce deforestation, to clean up the river, and how it's good for the environment. And then just very quickly, my last case study is from Vietnam, where youth are being engaged in an initiative to preserve biodiversity, to preserve different kinds of bamboos. Of course, it has an environmental focus to it, but the whole idea of engaging youth, which is something that you of course know, is that youth is an effective conduit for spreading the organization's conservation ethic and passing on to their parents the values and the lessons from environmental management. So really, to conclude, all of these initiatives of the groups that we work with youth in two ways. They understand the value of educating youth to be messengers, and they understand the value of educating youth to be drivers of change. And they're used to create activities, they're used to engage with other people in their communities, to change the way their parents view sustainable development and climate change. And I guess my advice after sharing a little bit of our work is you are advocates of change in your different countries, in your different organizations. These are groups in rural areas who do not have access to communication, necessarily social media, but they are changing at a local level. And people like you here in the cities can really be a driver through your advocacy efforts, through your fundraising, potential volunteering in some of these places to help promote these best practices, which they know, but they're using youth to promote and to replicate.
Thank you very much. Sorry to cut you short. It's fascinating examples, but you can find more also similar stories in our publication, but we have to give word to other people. And so Raid.
Thank you for having me, Miro, and it's wonderful to hear such nice and encouraging stories from all of the panelists today. I'm actually here representing my own nonprofit, Verdentum, and what we are is a social network. It's a social network that allows organizations, including youth organizations, UN bodies, governments, international organizations, to launch programs to youth around the world, and allows youth to work together on specific issues on those programs. So I guess the best way to describe it is through an example. I know we don't have slides today, but I'll just put up this one picture. So how it works essentially is, say you're a UN body, you want to do a program on water pollution. It can be difficult to reach students in 100 countries to actually get them together to work on water pollution at the same time. So with this, all you have to do as a UN body is log on, create a profile, or as an organization, create a profile, put up information about climate change, about water pollution, and then request an action from your volunteers or your students. So then all of your users will get paired for a video conference. So you could have students or your volunteers in Uganda speaking with volunteers in Mongolia or China or the US about their water pollution issues, discussing those issues, and then finally, the primary purpose is that they all get to go out and act together. So if it's a UN program on water pollution, you could ask students in 100 countries to go clean their local lakes or rivers. measure how much garbage they've collected, put up pictures, and essentially report it together. So it can be used for anything. You could have programs being launched on climate change related issues. It could be a tree plantation. It could be a lake cleanup. It could be something else, reducing energy consumption, for example. It can also be used for issues, healthcare programs. It could be a sanitation problem that you want to address, being an organization, and you could essentially crowdsource volunteers around the world to work together on that single issue and upload results. And I think part of the problem has been when I was a high school student, for example, we'd all go out and plant a tree, or we'd paint a wall, and it was very local and it was done. But I think a lot of youth today want to do something truly global, truly international, that's measurable and tangible. And that's exactly what we're looking to provide here. I like to describe it as a mix between an app store and a social network in some sense, because you can go out and choose which programs you want to join, and then work with your peers around the world on that specific issue. We co-launched the first program with the UN Academic Impact. That asked students to try and reduce energy consumption at their schools by 5% or plant trees. And we had a couple hundred students participate from Costa Rica, the US, Netherlands, Switzerland, Uganda, India, China, and the Philippines. And that was our pilot. And we're now revamping for a capacity of several 100,000 students to join. We're in conversation with a number of organizations, UNEP, Young Women, Amnesty, a number of others, about potential programs that they might want to launch. But we're also interested in partnering with smaller organizations that have strong impact that may not be able to expand so easily, but now can really amplify their impact by using this platform. It's free of cost to the users. It's also free of cost to the policymakers launching the program. We have a really great advisory panel. We have a physics Nobel laureate supporting our cause, and our advisors include the Vice Chair of Harvard Law, Chevron's former vice chairman. We have Evernote's chief tech officer, and a number of others. So really, I'm here to ask you to make use of what we're putting together. This picture here is actually one from some students in Switzerland speaking with students in the Philippines as part of our last pilot with the United Nations Academic Impact. And this is actually just a map of where people connected. So, students sitting in the Philippines were able to really talk and work together with their colleagues in Switzerland, put up their pictures, exchange views, and at the end they had nice statistics as to what was done. So if you could really, for example, get 1 million schools to reduce energy consumption by 5%, those small drops of water make a pretty big result. So we really encourage all of you to sign up. It's www.verdentum.org, and I am going to pass around actually cards, because we're actually closed for the redevelopment, but we're going to open up registration for about maybe 48 hours so that all of you can sign up if you'd like. If you'd like to launch a program and you're an organization or a government, please come speak to me, and we can talk about how that's possible. I'll be passing around these cards. Thank you.
Oh, it's very interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, now this Blair Zhang and Patrick Sperata. Okay, sorry.
I am way in the corner here, and I think Blair is at another room. She had to move on.